One of the things that supports adrenals a ton is literally minerals and nutrients. And if we try to think about like what is easy, you have options. You can get a bunch of minerals through electrolytes.
Today's episode is brought to you by Piggy Paint Nail Polish, the nail polish brand moms actually trust. Created by a mom who wanted safer products for her kids, Piggy Paint is non-toxic, virtually odorless, and water-based, so your little ones can paint without the harsh chemicals. It dries hard, lasts long, and comes in the cutest colors. If you want fun nails without the fumes or worry, head to piggypaint.com and feel good about what's going on your kids' hands. This week's wine of the week is the 1924 Bourbon Barrel-Aged Cabernet, a bold, dark, vanilla-kissed red aged in bourbon barrels for that rich, silky finish. The perfect end to a long mom day. Try it and thank me later. Welcome back to the Running Wine Mom podcast. I'm your host, Samantha Solinsky, aka the Running Wine Mom. My guest, Christa Biegler, is a functional nutritionist, host of Less Stressed Life podcast, and the author of the Eczema Relief and Diet Cookbook. She's helped thousands of women uncover the root causes of inflammation, fatigue, gut issues, and hormonal chaos, especially conditions like PCOS and eczema that many of us silently battle while juggling work, motherhood, and the millions of other roles we play. Christa has this rare ability to take big, complex health concepts and translate them into everyday language, which I know I need, that actually makes sense. The kind of advice you can put into practice before this episode even ends. Today, we're talking about listening to your body, about circadian rhythms, about how to deal with holiday stress, about inflammation, and the daily rituals that can help support a calmer, more balanced life. So without further ado, let's welcome Christa. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to get really tangible today about
Yes, and
keeping us healthy in this season.
so
Or
important.
sane.
I know, as we were just saying, it's such a stressful time of year. And I feel like this topic can be overwhelming at this point of year because everyone's like, well, I'm just going to start January 1st.
Mhm.
And I think that having someone like you come on and talk about all the important parts
Yeah.
of
Let's just
what we
not
can
get,
do during the
let's
holidays.
not be superficial, like
Yeah.
when I used to joke about this all the time, I'm like, you got to know when your high stress seasons are because then you give your body support and then you can feel better and then you can weather the storm easier. Right. And so it's all
Yeah.
about just knowing this time sucks trying to be Santa Claus and everything else and go to 4 Christmas concerts.
Yeah.
It's tough. And when you acknowledge that it kind of sucks, you can like help yourself feel better. Right. Is my point.
Right.
So
Yeah, and that's what I was just talking to my husband yesterday, and I was like, okay, we have like the next couple weeks. He goes, actually, I need you to just wait until tomorrow because I'm just not in the headspace to
yeah,
even listen to what is
brilliant.
happening. I'm like,
Smart.
I know, but I need to share it with someone.
Yeah.
I'm like, let me
I
just
mean,
tell you, you don't even have to listen.
yeah, it sounds like he is really on top of it. Good job. I'm like, I really can't handle it until I get through this other thing. I think that's perfect.
Yeah. And so before we talk about that, we start each episode with our wine, and win of the week segment. This is where we share our favorite bottle of wine, vent about something that's been bothering us, and celebrate our recent victories. So grab a glass, take a deep breath, and let's get started. So, Christa, what is your drinking wine of the week?
I'm like an old wine snob. So I like a good Sauvignon Blanc if I've got sautéed mushrooms. That's what I'm going for.
Ooh, love that. Now I'm like, I need some sauteed mushrooms. I just made chicken marsala the other night and
Yeah.
sauteed some mushrooms in that. Right. And what is your win of the week?
My win of the week. I'm pretty excited that it is a half of a week. I mean, I still
Mhm.
love everything, but I'm sort of ready to check out and just start thinking about like putting orange on my turkey and trying to make it delicious for Thanksgiving because in a couple of days we're having Thanksgiving. I also as it was our first snow day today, and I've always wanted to have more flexibility when my kids have snow days, and so that was like a big old win this week as well that I was able to like shift a few things around to make it more enjoyable.
That's
Otherwise, it's just
awesome. I
like
love.
chaos. You're trying
Yeah.
to work. It's like taking us back 5 years ago where you're trying to work during that, and so I was craving a little more flexibility around that in case those types of things happened.
I know I'm kind of jealous. Even though I'm not ready for snow yet, I am kind of jealous that you have a snow day today. So I'm like, oh, maybe we could just have like one or two scattered, but
Yeah,
not too many.
yeah, right. And also, can it be over before everyone travels in a couple of days?
Right, right, for sure.
Let's have it all.
Yeah, everything. Just like a morning, like comfortable snow or a night comfortable snow, but with everyone can travel in between and no delays or traffic, right?
Yeah, that'd be perfect. Yes. I think fantasizing is always fun.
It is. It's how I get through my days. So I always ask my guests a little about fitness. What's your favorite way to stay active?
Hmm. I have finally found an app that I do not loathe, and I'm working on having the identity of an athlete, which is really funny because in college, when I was going to school for nutrition, when they used to ask us what you did for exercise, I would say I parked farther away. And the classmates thought that was hilarious. That at the time, the school wasn't intertwined with the exercise physiology part. Like I was just
Right.
interested in nutrition. And as I approach 40, 100%, I'm like, yes, I understand I need to build muscle. So I finally found an app that is good for like my sort of ADHD sort of brain
Okay.
called Ladder. No
Okay.
affiliation. It's just wonderful if you tend to be very distracted because it's like really great for someone who's distracted. It lets you have your own playlist in the background. It's like really the best after I feel like I literally tried everything for a couple of years, like had a trainer, did all these
Mhm.
different things, and I finally found something I liked. And I feel like that's a huge win, right? To actually want to or like to do the thing, which is not super specific, but it felt like my big win fitness wise.
No, it's yeah, that's super helpful because I feel as though I have a similar mindset sometimes. I'm like, today, like, I woke up with an alarm set to like go lift in the morning, and I was like, I just don't feel like it. And then I'm like running outside during my lunch. I'm like, I feel like I am all over the place with my workouts, especially this time of year. So that's,
I have to tell you, I was working on this with my coach and I was
hmm
getting really frustrated on that exact topic. Like,
hmm
I wanted to do this thing and I didn't do it. And essentially, what it boiled down to was like, okay, well, I'm getting really frustrated by this thing.
hmm
And then it makes it feel heavier and uglier. And it's like, how do I just soften it and be like, well, this is my window at this time. And if I don't take this window, I may not get a window later. And so it's sort of like repositioning it against being angry at myself about it,
yeah,
like frustrated that I'm not showing up to do the thing I wanted to do. And for some reason, it's kind of worked. So we'll see. I'm
that's
like
awesome.
2 weeks into this mindset shift where it's like, I missed this window. So if I'm going to miss this window, is there even another window? Which often there is not, if
Right.
you're
There is
running
not.
to do things. So anyway,
But
I feel like I need a
yeah,
lot of positive self talk around fitness.
I know it's hard. It's like,
My
and
identity for fitness and my identity for nutrition are a little bit different, oddly.
well, yeah, I'm excited to talk about that. And before we do, I always like to ask a couple of parenthood questions. And I always like to ask my guests what they were least prepared for in parenthood.
Literally everything, I think. You know what got me though? I was okay with the first one. I had my first one. My oldest is almost 21.
Okay.
So I'm apparently old now and I'm on the downhill slope. But my next two I had, and this is like the biggest thing I would have said, like, how come I didn't know this? My next two were just 21 months apart. So they were less than 2 years apart. And I didn't realize how much I perceived that it would have been a lot easier if they were 3 years apart because one could have put their own shoes on. And I felt like 2 years apart was like having two toddlers. And I always joke I went through a 4 year fog.
Yeah, I can totally agree with that because my kids are 18 months apart. And I just tell everyone it was like having, I mean, I don't want to say it was like having twins because I know that's a little bit different, but I'm like, it was like the
It kind of
same.
sort of felt like it.
Yeah.
Kind of sort of. Right, this
Yeah.
other one was surviving while I was feeding the other one, and she's
Yeah.
still just like that. She's just doing whatever she wants. I have this photo where, like, she stacked, like, 3 chairs on top of each other because there was Halloween candy and these high, high cupboards, and, like, she was very growth-minded, but no one was gonna tell her she couldn't figure it out. Like, she was such a
Oh my
monkey,
gosh.
so
I love that.
yeah,
What
but
do you
also
think your
different.
parenting yeah, style is?
What a convicting question. I totally inherited my parents' parenting style until I learned to do different, and I'm, like,
Right,
on this year-long quest to start to just be calm all the time as much as possible. There's only one ideal parenting style in the 4 sets. The 2 of them
right,
sound identical to each other, and I can't remember the difference between authoritarian, and the other one, and one is, like, what I got from my parents, and the other one is what everyone is supposed to be. So,
right.
what's your
Yeah, it's,
parenting style?
me, I am strict but flexible. I like to set really hard boundaries.
Mm,
Sometimes I think it's, like, a little bit too hard maybe, but then, like, I want them to be able to be independent. That's kind of what my goal is, and I think for my older daughter, it definitely works. For my son, I mean, they're still little. They're 5 and 3. My son is different learning than my daughter, so I have to figure out what to do
yeah.
because I could be like
I
it's
know.
just
They're
different.
all different. My kids are all extremely independent, but my
Mhm.
husband is unusual. I would say, like, they're kind of feral in this positive way. Like, he was putting them on I live in a very rural countryside, and so, like,
Mhm.
putting them on their laps, and they're, like, driving, as
Right.
small children between grandma's house, who lives right down the
Yeah.
road. It's a bizarre thing, and so, yeah, they're kind of interesting, and then there's currently a toilet paper fort in my living room, and my 11-year-old, like, I think is driving a payloader outside right now, helping his dad fix the drain tile, so anyway, it is what it
That's
is.
awesome. They're
Yeah, it's
learning life
weird,
skills.
weird thing, yeah.
And what's one piece of advice you would give other parents?
Oh gosh, so many things I like, these are different than I usually answer. Thank you for asking these. Gosh, I just think it's such a season, and so I try to just bloom where I'm planted, right? Like,
Yeah.
there are pros and cons, and I just try to bloom where I'm planted, and I feel like I'm especially it's a weird thing to be on the downhill slope of kids because it
Mhm.
sort of feels like you're climbing a mountain, and then now I'm only, like, 6 years before it's done because right, my oldest is 20, and it's like, this is kinda weird, and it's, like,
Yeah.
easier, so, I guess the only thing I have to say is, people always say kids grow fast, I'm like, "I think that's on purpose." I think they need to grow fast because sometimes you can't handle the current age, and so right now I'm actually doing something that 5 year ago would not recognize. I'm planning to
Okay.
homeschool in the spring, and
Wow.
5 year ago me would have been paid a lot of money for a private tutor when my kids got out of school because of, like,
Right.
work-life balance stuff, so I've been working this year on how to make that fun just because 'cause I'm like, "This is our last year of middle school, and I feel like they still like
Yeah.
me, and, after this, I won't be having children."
I know.
Blooming where I'm planted.
Yeah, I love that, and I've loved every season so far. I'm, like I said, younger, but it's like there's hard and easiness of each
Mhm.
season.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get into it. So while we will be past Thanksgiving when this episode airs, we will be in like the literal thick of it when this does air because it's probably going to be like 2 weeks before Christmas or maybe a little bit more. So I guess I want to start off with stress and the immune system during the holidays. Everybody is expected to have this like joy and happiness, but there's so much chaos, there's so much sugar, there's so much travel. From a functional lens, what actually happens to our immune system when our stress shoots up during this season, and what can we do to like help it a little bit?
Yeah. So I think it's really good to just have this little piece of science in your back pocket, and you've already all experienced it, right? When stress goes up, the immune system is suppressed. Actually, your digestion is suppressed as well. So we'll come to that later, which I think is pretty important if we want to enjoy our meals and actually not feel like garbage after the fact. But I was joking with you before we hit record. There's really two seasons: allergy season in the spring and sick season right now. And so when stress is up, immune system is suppressed in general. So what you can do, there's some markers around this. It doesn't really matter, but it just sort of kind of helps you tie it with a bow. Saccharomyces boulardii, which is a type of probiotic yeast, but my favorite is immunoglobulins. And so immunoglobulins are essentially colostrum. We've heard of colostrum, right? For
Mhm.
milk that you get, it's that really nutrient dense milk, but also there is bovine serum immunoglobulins. They're all coming from a company out of Iowa that actually, this is very in reverse, by the way. Usually this doesn't happen where something was in animal nutrition and then they put it in human nutrition. Rare,
Right.
rare. They were like, ooh, when we're giving this to animals, they're like really a lot healthier and like growing better and all their like everything is better, in this like operation where if a pig had gotten sick, they would have like all died. Like they were like, wow, this is just really not happening. And so what they were doing, they were giving this like stuff, right, that was coming out of beef blood, bovine
Yeah.
serum called immunoglobulins. And there's a trademark name for it called Immunolin. And that's the product that's in every product with like all these products carry it essentially. And it's really well tolerated. There's a lot of colostrum brands as well. But what I would want to share with you is that you don't need to stimulate your immune system constantly. That's kind of something I would say in the really progressive, functional, integrative space around like health. We're trying to say like you don't really need to constantly stimulate your immune system, but
Right.
when your stress is increased, what I want you to take away from this is when stress is increased, there's room for more support in general. And
Okay.
so I pack maybe support different. Like if I'm going to go visit family, what are some things that are going to happen? I'm going to cross in a time zone where I live. It's annoying. And we all have experienced that pretty recently.
Yeah.
It does actually screw you up. An hour will really screw you up. So I'm going to cross the time zone. I'm going to be around a bunch of people. I may have struggles with my sleep. So there's going to be a few
Mhm.
things I might pack. I might pack some $1 tape. I have some favorite first aid tape. I like transport tape because I'm a weirdo and I like it to rip off evenly instead of like
Huh.
unevenly. I use this to tape my mouth, which you might just turn this off right now if you think that's terrible. But I tape my mouth shut because if I'm sleeping with my mouth closed and breathing through my nose, it's more antimicrobial. So I do this on planes too. I'm the weirdo next to you taping my mouth shut and putting my eye mask on the overnight flight because everyone's got all this air circulating and I want to breathe it through my nose because it's actually antimicrobial to breathe through my nose. And when you sleep with your mouth closed, which you can have, there's a resting position for your mouth, like your tongue should be on the roof of your mouth should be closed. We can talk about if you have a congestion, what you can do there. But basically, when you're breathing through your nose and you sleep that way, you're actually able to get into deeper sleep. I have tested this. I no longer wear any sleep trackers, but when I did,
Wow.
I went from 30 minutes of deep sleep to 2.5 hours of deep sleep when my mouth was taped shut. It's bonkers. I need
Wow.
that kind of data to like back me up. You know what I mean? I need that
Yeah.
kind of data to be like, whoa, I am going to do this. So I'm going to pack my $1 roll of tape that's a lifetime supply. I've got my little like bag because trying to get good sleep, if you're starting to feel a little bit run down, now catching a cold and preventing it happens the day before the sore throat, in my opinion.
Okay.
This is what I've seen. Like you can potentially try to nip it in the bud, as we like to say, if you take double, triple, like the recommended dose of that colostrum or
Okay.
immunoglobulin product or some kind of immune support. There's some other options too, right? We even talked about a couple. And then I take my mouth shut, go straight to bed, try to get a good night of rest. Now, sometimes that doesn't happen on the holidays, but my point is typically I'm sharing, like when I'm traveling for these things, these are the things I'm trying to support because I
Right.
know sleep is compromised. I know I'm around stuff. I'm also not going to drink out of other people's stuff because I don't want to acquire a million of their germs. Thank you very much.
Right.
But I'm a weirdo and I've looked at too many stool tests and saw how we share things. And that's just a preference I have. And my advice, my real advice as a parent is like, don't drink out of your kids' cups because I've never witnessed worse illnesses than when my kids drink
Really?
out of my stuff. That would be like they're sick and like they gave me all of their stuff. It just
Yeah.
feels like, I mean, you can do whatever you want. Go have
Right.
a
Right.
party if that's what you want
Well,
to do. But that was just my thing and how we share germs and pathogens. So I know I'm a little wild, but it's backed up by looking at a lot of testing and seeing how it also all plays
no.
out in real life.
I
So we're talking about immune system stress with holidays and with travel, and those would be some really simple starter. That's like my starter pack for improving immune system during the holidays. And then, since you brought up stress in the immune system, there's also like stress and how it's affecting the other systems and how might I support those systems. I think if you want to feel good during the holidays. So
yeah.
we could do that if you want. It's up to
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, go ahead.
So I think there's a couple other places stress really shows up and causes some issues besides suppressing the immune system. First, next thing, this next thing that it does is it suppresses your digestion. And when you
Right.
don't digest, you don't usually like what that can look like is feeling tired after eating. Because
Right.
you're not really digesting and absorbing those nutrients. And so there's many others. You could be a little bit gassy, you could be bloated as well. Like all of those are signs that I'm not probably digesting. Of course, it could be the weird barrage of things that we sometimes consume. No shade. Like I love to be indulgent, to be honest. So no
Right.
problem. I actually, when I'm being indulgent, when I'm off increasing the amount of food I'm intaking, I know I want to digest because if I'm not digesting, that undigested stuff is going to start to create other issues and potential problems. So, and usually I'm going to be eating things that are different or maybe harder for me to digest that I'm not used to, especially at the holidays. So I'm usually going to want to take some kind of digestive support. Now, this can run the gamut. You could just open the spice cabinet and find fennel seeds if they're in the
Okay.
cabinet. It's a couple,
I'm like,
right?
do I have fennel? I don't know.
They're a really good digestive bitter, so they're great. You can also think about like caffeine-free teas that are like full
Yeah.
of bitter herbs and compounds. Those could be great. I mean, I want you to think about if you've ever been to an Indian restaurant and you walk out the door, they have those licorice-covered fennel seeds. So
Yeah.
digestive bitters stimulate your digestive juices to operate. I mean, you certainly could just go take some enzymes too, like that's fine, whatever. But, it's fun to just open the cabinet and say, like, what are my resources right here in general, right? So a
Right.
couple things on digestion. The most uh, underrated, overlooked thing is like chew a million times, and I mean like 20 times to applesauce consistency because your stomach doesn't have teeth. I know it sounds like too simple, but it is important. We tend to swallow food a little
Right.
too much. So it's sort of
It's
like,
so funny. I was just thinking about that today. I was listening
mm,
to something and I was like, I remember like I used to really focus on that. I'm just like, I mean, honestly, just putting food in my mouth when I'm like rushing to get my kids.
yeah,
But I'm
no,
like, I
it
need to go back
happens.
to that. So
We're
that's
all
my
the, you know,
reminder that I do.
I think we have to layer the cool stuff with like kind of the basic stuff because
Hmm.
our health is built in basics and like the compounding effect of things. And so I think the only way we sort of get ahead is we stop and like question ourselves. We like catch ourselves a lot, right? It's
Right.
essentially the assessment part of like, I'm kind of eating on the run a lot.
Right.
I wonder how that's like going. You know, you stop and like ask yourself, like, is that going okay? Do I need to change anything? Is there anything I want to do differently? My clients know that we're gonna put on my tombstone, like, no one was digesting. It's a joke. Chewing from the top down, like, digestion's a full GI system project, right? So chewing
Hmm.
top down, and then how can I stimulate my pancreas? How can I stimulate stomach acid to actually digest this food? And so the simplest thing is bitters. And there's a lot of bitter foods, right? So maybe you want to put the arugula on your plate that you weren't gonna, maybe you're gonna chew up those pomegranate seeds on top of the salad. All of those are nice. I know there's a thing I volunteer with on Wednesdays, and in the drawer at this place, there's like this really delicious type of tea. And by the way, there's like a great tea out there that I sometimes gift. It's a really low cost teacher gift or like, the gift that's like a few bucks. That's like, oh, this is nice. And it's from no affiliation. This company's called Davidson's Organics, and they have a Christmas tea and they have a caffeine free one and a regular one. And it's so lovely. It's
I'm
so
gonna write
lovely.
that down right now.
It's a good one. It's a good one because it's like I like to gift usable things, right?
Yeah.
And I actually should almost order that one. Everyone was getting socks, but maybe that we should bring back the Christmas tea a little bit. But there is another brand called Good Earth, and they make a really good like, sweet and spicy. They used to make,
Ooh,
like, basically the best chai ever, but they discontinued it, and we should all write hate mail and say, "Can you please bring back the Wild Child
bring
chai?"
it back.
Yeah, but they have a caffeine free and a regular one, and I think that this particular tea has incredible bitter compounds. It's got, like, some cinnamon and some other yummy stuff, so
Ooh,
really nice after dinner tea that would be really great. And so, sometimes people think, like, you have to take bitters before eating, but really you're gonna be digesting for hours, so you can continue to stimulate digestive enzyme and juices after the fact. So
okay.
digesting, I think, is pretty dang important all the way around for all of us, and I think, if we're gonna talk a little bit about just even trying to not feel like crap, right? But we already sort of know this, is it's like it's nice to kind of like diversify the plate a little bit. So when we're having our sugar, being like, "Ooh, could I counter that with some protein here and there?" Right?
Yeah,
Just
that's good
digestion
advice.
wise. I mean, it's good for us to think about. Um, the main things in health are always like always awareness and assessment first. It's like,
Right.
"Ooh," but we're always paying for it at the end, and that's why I was thinking about it because it's like trying to metabolize through all of that, and how do you do it as best as possible, right? Well, there's a few tricks, right? How do we buffer it? How do we digest it better? Also, like if you find that you overate at a meal, the absolute easiest thing you could do for your blood sugar so you don't like crash and burn also would be to go for a walk if it's possible.
Mm,
We
yeah,
kinda know that, but it's like,
right.
literally, I've never seen a more effective thing for improving blood sugar. It's kind of annoying.
Yeah,
So
that's what
so
I mean, in the summer, we would go for walks every night after dinner, and now I'm like, now we just gotta get some light so we can
I know, it's a
go on
little bit
those walks
tricky.
still.
A little bit
Yeah,
tricky. I feel like to sort of indulge generally in the fact that, like, those seasons are different. It is okay to
yeah,
go to bed at 8 at the same time,
right.
and I think all of that takes. I know for me as well, I'm also a human just like everybody else, and it takes some proactive, like, "What are we gonna eat at 4 o'clock?"
Yeah,
Quickly.
I know.
Really requires some thinking about that. So I always like to,
Yeah.
even if I don't choose that thing, I like to have some kind of plan. Okay, so we talked about stress, suppressing the immune system and suppressing digestion. And the other main thing I might say that I think is that really showed up for me with the holidays is it you have to explain it like this. It's like creating a lot of burden for the adrenal glands. And what I'm talking about
Mhm,
is really cortisol. And so essentially cortisol is like it's like pressing on the gas and we're speeding through life, which is common. And
mm,
we're using up a lot of nutrients and a lot of energy. And so that's how it's the easiest to think of it that way. It's literally how it works. It's like literally depleting certain nutrients, especially minerals. And so when stress is increased, I like to try to put back those things that are being lost because the alternative is like you speed through life, you burn through the gas tank, and then you go on reserve tank. And a lot of people are
right.
unfortunately operating from reserve tank. And it can feel
Mhm.
like just sort of exhaustion on the weekends
Yeah.
sometimes. Really sneaky little symptom that is very uncommon that maybe only a couple people that are listening to this are going to say, like, it can literally cause a little bit of low back pain on either side because your adrenals, I
Wow.
always say, like, the adrenals are crying when that's happening. They need some extra, extra, extra love.
Mhm.
But one of the things that supports adrenals a ton is literally minerals and nutrients. And if we try to think about like what is easy, I mean, you have options. You can get a bunch of minerals through electrolytes. That's an option. Please not like liquid IV. It's mostly carbs and not actually full of minerals. Like we want to really get above 200 milligrams potassium and sodium, and then magnesium is actually third in line. Technically, you need to actually replete the doorway of the cell, which is sodium potassium pump, and then magnesium is kind of the bouncer on the outside. So, whatever, you can take all of the nutrients, but I'm prioritizing sodium, potassium typically, especially potassium if you're like tend to be a little more swollen. Sometimes there can be an
Mhm.
imbalance of potassium, sodium. One's intracellular, one's extracellular, cellular. So if you're going for that walk and you feel like your fingers are swelling, it's a good sign you need more potassium typically. So I was going to say also, and this either goes over really well or like a sack of potatoes. I'm either your good friend or I'm not. I'm a huge fan of Epsom salt baths or Dead Sea salt baths because I love topical nutrient absorption. It's so
Mhm.
much more efficient, right? And like people, I love when people say they're like, I took a bath and I slept so good. I'm like, that would make sense. That
Right.
would make sense.
Yeah.
You're getting this incredible nutrient that's doing all these different thousands of things besides just like calming your nervous system. And by the way, trying to schedule that in. I know that sometimes there's no space, and if you can find a space, it's like this nourishing, cheap, easy thing you can do. It's like,
Mhm.
I need this to fill myself up. It's like recharging your batteries that are getting spent during the holidays. So I just think I always like to recommend to a client, like if things are really significant, I'm like, try to do it 2 to 4 times a week for 2 weeks. But if during the holidays I schedule one, it's like a lovely
Right.
gift to self.
Yeah.
So
And I did have a question about cortisol to kind of go back to that. So a lot of moms, they have their exercise regimen, which can spike cortisol, but hopefully in a good way. But then they're adding all this stress on of you know, kids' concerts and getting gifts and all of this other stuff. So I feel like in this time frame specifically, our cortisol levels may be much higher. But what advice would you have for women to maybe like find a sweet spot where exercise supports cortisol rather than spikes it? 'Cause, like I like to move during the season, but also I'm stressed. So
yeah,
am I just
no,
like
totally.
ruining everything?
I would love to talk about this. I love to educate this on. I'm gonna turn a
Hmm.
lamp on because it's dark.
Yeah.
It's starting to get dark anyway. So, first of all, I would love for you to know that cortisol has a little bit of a rhythm. So when you wake up, it should peak for the day 30 to 60 minutes later. So we're gonna talk about layering in the exercise and like where it matters and whatnot. I mean, the benefit overall around exercise is like so ginormous that there's some layers to this. So first of all, let's understand how cortisol works. So 30 to 60 minutes after you wake up, cortisol should spike. It may not do that because it's being triggered by full spectrum light or your circadian
Mm,
rhythm. So it's dark. It's probably dark when you wake up right now, right, Sam? I would say.
yeah, it
So
is. And when I
I
go
have
to bed and
I
every
have kind
time.
of I know I have kind of like the sun starts to rise sometime in the 6 o'clock hour for me, but at 4 ish, it's sunset, which is it's just not enough, the end.
Right.
So, but if it's dark when you are getting up, I've got this, I actually faced it away from me. I have this lamp here right now. It's a full spectrum lamp. And I do think it's just like it's your option. It's your hack in this
Right.
season, right? To have a full spectrum light because otherwise, this is essentially telling you to create hormones for the entire day. It's
Okay.
triggering literally the production of all, it's like, oh, it's morning. It's like light is how we were primarily designed, right? So it's like, oh,
Right.
it's morning now. It's time to produce hormones for the day, including melatonin that I'll release tonight. And then
Mhm.
the blue light we get from a variety of sources will degrade melatonin. And I think this is all
Mm.
just like good to know. But seeing the sunset or turning down the lights allows melatonin to be released, which is maybe important. So starting to turn down those lights. I kind of have like just an aversion to super bright lights early in the morning. And
Right.
I'm like, guys,
Yeah, I'm like,
shut
I
this
don't want it.
down, please. So back to cortisol, it should spike 30 to 60 minutes after we wake, and then it should decline after that throughout the day. Now, it should not tank in the afternoon where we need a
Mhm.
nap. There's some options there. That might be a good place. Actually, some researchers showed it's like one of the best places to put exercise. I think the best place to put exercise is whenever you will do it.
Right.
I say that for myself too. Oh, but if you're crashing in the afternoon, there might be a little bit of like love and support that you could do to your body as well. So it should not crash in the afternoon, but it should decline. And then before bed, it should be at its lowest. So if you have any
Okay.
kind of dysregulation around this, and the thing to know about cortisol is that we can spike it. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong. It's actually super normal. It's a matter of can we get back down. Generally, when we spike cortisol, it takes about 90 minutes for it to come back down. So if we're starting a stressful task before bed, so what makes it stressful or not is sort of us, unfortunately, and overall, like how full our plate is. And that's
Okay.
not right or wrong. It's just like the concept of capacity has a lot, like, it feels like if the plate's already full and I've got to wrap gifts, this feels stressful.
Mhm.
And you might, even if your plate's full, you might love wrapping gifts. It might actually be really cathartic to you. You might love it. Like some people love sweeping the floor. Like it's just really enjoyable to them. So if that's the response going through your body, it may not be read by your body as stress. So I just want to offer
Okay.
that, like, you know, something doesn't necessarily inherently have to be stressful. It's sort of how our brain is triggering the whole thing, which does take some.
Right.
It's hard because what I find we do is we sort of just run, 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 and we're not even really sure. So you
Right.
kind of have to ask yourself, like, am I frustrated that I have to do this and I'm the only one and
Yeah.
everything is on my shoulders? Good chance it's being read by stress. If your perspective is like, I love doing this so much and I'm going to get enough sleep, then it may not be read by like stress. And that may not be realistic. I'm just kind of offering. And it's like whatever. It's more so about awareness and did I spike my cortisol right before bed and am I having trouble going to sleep? If
Mhm.
so, this would be a good place where you could maybe take some magnesium, maybe 30 to
Okay.
60 minutes before bed. It can help bring that back down. There's other things as well. I like to go nutrients first if possible before like adaptogens or something, and especially really straightforward nutrients. If we can kind of like lean on the same things, it doesn't hurt. It's sort of like good and acceptable. I like magnesium glycinate as well.
Okay. I do take that.
Yeah, malate might be more stimulating. Citrate will work as well, but it mostly is gonna push a bowel movement. It's not super
Mhm.
absorbable, but it will create a calming effect, so it's not
Yeah.
whatever. So, but the
Yeah.
main thing is, like, to not take it and expect that it's gonna work in 5 minutes, it's gonna take, like, probably 30. So, if you're
Okay.
finding that you're struggling with that, if you're finding that you're kind of running around and just stressed about that, and I think, again, this boils back to awareness. If I'm stressed about the full day tomorrow, which takes a lot of unlayering of ourselves, right? There's a lot
I
to that,
know.
and that's okay, it's not a problem, but it's just like, if you're aware of it, then you can do something with it, right? Or you
Right.
can choose to do nothing with it. That's up to you too.
Yeah.
Not really negatively affecting your sleep, like, we're all over the place on how we all sleep. So,
Yeah.
I just my thing is, like, you always have options, and you can always have options at any point of where you are. Like, you can be met at any point of where you are in general.
Yeah.
So, back to cortisol. So, we talked about how it peaks. It's programmed by full spectrum light. We talked about how in the afternoon it declines, and then before bed it should be at its lowest. So there's a variety of things that can happen. Like if you feel like you need coffee to be awake in the morning, probably your cortisol awakening response kind of sucks. And I would recommend like walking outside and looking at the sun as much as possible. And I get it that it may be dark, and so you might need a full spectrum light to look at for a couple minutes in the morning. Like you might need it on your
Yeah.
bathroom counter or something like that. And so I would start to look at that as an opportunity. You can also put one of these lights on the desk on all morning as well.
Wow.
And that can be really supportive. I have this conversation with myself all the time. I'm like, why do I feel so blah? And I'm like, oh, the sun hasn't shined for 3 freaking days. I think Kid Rock had a song about it. Right? And so it's like, oh, I'm actually better this year. It's like years of having the same conversation with myself, finally saying, why don't I just turn this light on? On my
I
desk.
know. Now I'm like, now I need to ask for one.
Yeah. So, more than you can just like, I wanted to spend less than 30 bucks, but 10,000 lux is what you're looking for, and just read the
Okay.
reviews. There's a
Okay.
bunch of alarm clock ones. I'm kind of shopping for one for my kids right now, but the last time I bought the alarm clock ones, the directions sucked and they were hard to
Yeah.
use. So I'm
Yeah.
hoping that they've improved, much like I'm hoping that the robot vacuums and mops have improved so I can get a good.
I know. We had one a while ago and we loved it, but then all of a sudden it like just
What
did
brand did
not
you
go the
have?
way we wanted it. We had the iRobot. And like we really liked it, but it would go in like the wrong spots and then it would get stuck. And then I was like, this is annoying because I thought I was coming home to like a clean house. But that
Yeah.
was like 10 years ago we had it when they just came out.
Yeah, I'm crossing my fingers that the technology is all upgraded. Speaking of
Yeah,
the
I'm
outsource
sure
thing,
it
someone's
is.
like, "You are gonna
Yeah.
pay for yourself in a couple of months, you little robot."
Yes.
Oh my kids, that is what you're getting me for Christmas, whether you know it or not. Okay. Anyways, cortisol and circadian rhythm. So There's kind of some like, sometimes I find that we get sort of caught up in perfection around,
Mhm.
well, can I drink coffee right away without eating? And it's like, here's kind of some ideals, but whatever, right? And so even though like maybe it's great if you can work out of her lunch for your energy, if it's like means you're probably not going to do it, then probably just do it in the
Mhm.
morning. And if your cortisol is already highest in the morning, so here's the thing also is that what kind of exercise is triggering cortisol? Typically cardio or high
Mhm.
intensity training. And so I'm typically lifting weights for multiple reasons, not because it's right or wrong or I'm a fitness expert whatsoever, but I'm not really expecting. But sometimes I have worked out before bed and I literally say to myself, okay, I'm not going to do anything that's going to like be stimulating to cortisol. So I would skip anything that would be like cardio here. And
Okay.
it doesn't really bother me to like do weightlifting at bedtime.
Right.
It's like, what's my attitude around this? And sometimes, especially right now with the way the season is, it's like, maybe I want actually some like mobility and Pilates. I find that I really struggle to have the energy to want to do anything at that hour and I'm okay with it.
Mhm.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Not really a problem. So I don't know if that answers your question, but we want to think about like what is actually triggering cortisol. And so it's like if you are doing cardio or hit like right before bed, there might be something to pay for with that. But at the same time, could you hack it and also like take something that starts to calm your cortisol or do some more exhales than inhales that technically can calm things down? Like how do you impact your heart rate? You exhale longer than you inhale, like repeatedly a couple times. Like that's actually how you slow your heart rate down. And so you technically can slow cortisol production down, technically.
Right.
Everyone's on a different spectrum, and we're kind of talking big picture, but you got options, is my point.
Right.
No matter what, there's usually an option for that, right? I wanna enjoy some alcohol at whatever time, fantastic. There's probably an option for that, right? Like, what kind of little love and support. One year I gave my friends a little bottle called alcohol detox because I was like, "Well, this is self-explanatory." It's just some nutrients to help
Yeah.
stimulate the action overall, right?
Uh,
So, yeah.
like, I definitely need that this time of
Did I
year.
answer your question about cortisol and exercise?
Yes, yeah, that's
Okay,
really
cool,
helpful. Thank you.
cool.
So something else we've brought up a few times is darkness and circadian rhythm. And so the days are obviously, like we said, they're shorter. The sun is disappearing at 4:30 and everyone's mood and energy dips. Can you break down what's actually kind of happening to our bodies at this time of year with like why we feel this way and besides getting a maybe a sunlight, what we can do to
Yeah, I'll
make
kinda
it
go back
better?
to
Yeah,
I'll talk about some things I missed first of all as well.
right.
So, the full spectrum light, which doesn't is not all day. It's actually, like,
Mhm.
usually before 9 a.m. I don't know, it changes throughout the year. I don't get very hung up on, like, exactly the time because usually I'm gonna go
Right.
look at the sun before 9 a.m.
Yeah.
Some people would say, "Oh, I'm getting that sun in the windshields or, like, on my drive to work or through the window, I'm looking out the window." I get it. When it is -20, I too do not always go outside. I get
Right.
you. I get you. And we have a lot of energy efficiency in our windows now. Not everyone.
Yeah.
Like if you have older windows, you may not have them. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong. It's just how it is. And so it is filtering some of that full spectrum light, those energy
Mhm.
efficiency, both with the car and the window. So the answer is to open the window. And I get like it's even cold in the winter, but whatever. Like I'm just trying to tell you the reality.
Right.
If you want the whole full spectrum light to trigger
Yeah.
that cortisol awakening response, which you do, because you don't want to be flat and blind all day. So rolling down the window and just getting that to your eyes for like a couple of minutes is what you need to your skin or to your eyes. Okay. So we talked about how that starts to create the hormones for the day. Turning down the lights allows you to release the melatonin. The blue light destroys the melatonin. So, sometimes we can use something I use or do. And again, you don't have to do this. There's a lot of like little hacks. Some people, and I find that this is becoming trendy online. It used to be kind of weird. Like people would change out their light bulbs to be super red. Now there seems to be lights where they actually have, there's like a controller where it actually will change color. But I find people are actually using like even amber lights and incandescent lights, which are a little bit harder to find. We've tried to phase those out for LEDs. They have a lot less flicker because the flicker like creates that it creates a lot of issues, that I cannot completely speak to, but the incandescent lights so people will switch those out sometimes. I kind of boil down to like, can I just turn down the lights in our home? Do you want to use some candles, right? Because like in the old days, right, the early
Yeah.
it was sunlight and then fire, and the fire is full of red light. And so
Mhm.
I might go work out Oh, a couple other details related to this that can be really supportive. You can Google how to turn my phone screen red, and, like, on my iPhone, and it's different for Androids, like, I
Wow.
just do a little, triple click on the
Nice.
side. It's an accessibility shortcut that you can do, and so you just triple click it, and it'll turn it red. This is
Wow.
freaking life-changing. Like, everyone
Wow.
should do this if they're not doing it now, because 'cause we're probably all
Doing
looking
it
at our
now.
phones in bed or in the dark.
Yeah.
And it's literally like squinting. Like, when you change this, it's
Okay.
so relaxing to your eyes and your
Right.
entire face. You literally stop squinting at your phone. So
Wow.
I've trained myself to kind of turn it on automatically,
Mhm.
right?
Okay.
Before, like, if I'm looking at my phone in the morning, if you look at your phone with a regular light, it may tell your
Okay.
brain it's noon. And so you can imagine how the
Okay.
energy is gonna decline from there. So if you wake up and you look at and you're blocking that blue light by using a red screen or even a grayscale screen,
Right.
you're not getting that message. Right now, your brain is still free to go get that full spectrum light. So a lot of times,
Okay.
I might go work out also kinda before the sun is rising right now,
Okay.
and I have a red light in my workout space, so I might just turn that on just because it's convenient, but it's like a nice little dim light in general. So
Mhm.
these are all like little tiny things that actually do really compound and make a really big difference overall.
Okay.
And again, I try to remind myself this is a very short amount of time, right? Between November and December, and I'm trying to stay busy with things.
Yeah.
That is what I tell myself all the time, and I'm like, "Why is it so dark?" And then I remind myself that January will come, and I am a weirdo who wants to be outside skiing
Yeah.
in January, and that will be good, and that will be wonderful. So to get by this season, full spectrum lights are big, hacking the color of your phone and, like, whatever you wanna add to it, right? I started doing this phone thing, like, 5, 6 years ago, which is bonkers to me. Someone set it up for
Yeah.
me at a conference, and every phone I've
You
gotten,
just did it.
you put them next to each other and they, like, grab all the old settings and things, so I've set it up once and never again.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome.
Um, so something else that I kinda wanted to touch on is, like, seasonal living.
Mhm.
We kinda talk about, like, things like not to do during this time, but, like, leaning with the time of year instead of fighting it. How can women kind of maximize their health by embracing what winter naturally encourages us to
Yeah.
do?
I love, first of all, considering how nature takes a break for part of the year and
Mhm.
saying it's okay to, like, go to bed. It's okay to wanna
Yeah.
sleep more. I'm not huge on this, but there's people who do, like, sleep chronotypes, and most of us are bears. So
Yeah, I
we
know.
actually want to, like, hibernate and whatnot, kind of get to enjoy that space in general.
Mhm.
And I think we just ask ourselves, like, how am I kind of programmed? Like, am I
Right.
kind of going against the overall biology of nature in general? But from there, what we can do also, and this is a good little tricky, it's like a little trick that ultimately is more budget conscious, et cetera. It's very common for us to eat the same things over and over and over.
Mhm.
But whenever possible, how can I eat the seasonal foods, right? How can I be eating the
Right.
squashes and the root vegetables and the things in the winter? There is some like extra, not like there's an extra little corner of the internet that talks about like literally eating the things that are only available to you may impact even leptin levels, et cetera. I
Wow.
haven't fully gone down that rabbit hole, but in general, when we change up our starches or our fibers or changing up these root vegetables, we're getting a bigger diversity of prebiotic foods, and that's feeding our
Wow.
microbiome different. Otherwise, if we're only eating the same handful of things, which is very common for us to do, we
Mhm.
get used to it and we get in our way and it's just routine and it's easy. We're not really supporting the extreme microbiome diversity that we have,
Mhm.
which is actually impacting our entire immune system overall, right?
Wow.
So if
That's
we actually buy what's on sale by the season, it's like a double win. And I love a good
Yeah,
double win. I love a double
100%.
win. It's like, okay, what could I eat that's seasonal right now? Pomegranate, maybe, right? Or
Right.
squashes or these other things that provide a wider range of these phytonutrients and prebiotics.
That's awesome. So you have given us so much information and so much practical advice that we can really use. But for someone finishing this episode and wants to take like one small step towards feeling less stressed and more in tune with their body, what's the first step you would want them to take?
Yeah, I like us to stop and say like, "Whew," like, just breathe where I am right now. I think
Yeah.
that there's all these someone asked me a while back, I think this story will help. Someone asked me like a month or 2 ago, she said, "Krista, what's your favorite nervous system tool or stress relief tool?" And I was like, paying attention to how fast I'm talking because it's
Mm,
increasing my heart rate. And I was a fast talker my whole life and like really triggering my heart rate and my cortisol. So that's one thing is sometimes it's subtractive and not additive because sometimes our plate is full anyway, so we don't really need to add more things. The other thing I would say that was really helpful to me is that especially with like health and all these influencer things, there's all these cool things you could do.
mhm.
And it can be a lot, and I struggle as well to be like, "Oh, I do not have time for all of these things." And so the thing that was
I
really
know.
helpful for me was like, what's my 5-minute or less option, right? Can I do
Yeah.
something in 3 minutes? And for me, that's going and drinking my electrolytes and looking at the sun in the morning. It doesn't happen like that every single day.
Mhm.
The other thing though, especially being a mom, I think that moms end up in the biggest stress spiral as a norm. I think they're, like, stuck on speeding accidentally,
Mhm.
and I was not different than that at all until I kind of was like, "Man, this is not like, I'm getting all these messages from my body that this is maybe what's going on." I was pretty
Okay. Yeah.
ignoring it. Pretty good at ignoring it. But what happens is I think, especially when we have small babies, we are in such a pattern of reactivity.
Mhm.
We've gotta get up and take care of them, and then you stack it, and then you stack it, and it's like, before you know it, it's like just constant reactivity overall,
Right.
which is a really stressed state, and I there was a point where I was, like, kind of assessed that. I love this exercise where it's like, "What's draining my energy? What's filling my cup?" And, like, literally just being reactive all the time was so draining, and so for me,
It is.
if I can have a moment to myself, right? And I had to work through a different layer of that, like, eventually, my youngest decided he wanted to get up the same time I did. And at first I was like, "No, this
No.
is for me at this point." And then I was like, "It's okay, like, you're kind of soft and snuggly, but no, you can't turn the TV on. Like, I this is
Yeah.
actually my zone right now. This is my like, serenity space. Like, I just need a few minutes to myself to, like, breathe and to not just wake up and do stuff for other people." And that
Yeah.
literally alone was so incredibly transformative, but it took stopping to take inventory of myself, like, what is
Right.
making me feel like chaos? Like, "Oh, it's just starting with chaos is what's
Mhm.
making me feel like chaos." If I just have, like, a
Yeah.
minute or 2 and be like, "What's for me today?" Can I look
Yeah.
at the sun, right? Instead of immediately serving someone else and not taking a break from that. Like, I mean, a
Yeah.
couple minutes. It has literally changed everything for me from a parenting and life perspective. So, I hope it can maybe do something for you.
I love that. I'm definitely going to take that advice. And I think that's a great place to end. So that's going to bring us to the end of another episode of The Running Wine Mom. Again, thank you so much for this conversation, not just for the science and the expertise, but for the compassion and clarity you are bringing to women who are tired of feeling like their bodies are working against them. So for everyone listening right now, if something that Krista said hits home, trust it. Take that one small step today, listen a little closer to what your body is asking for, and that's where your change is going to start. So thank you, Krista, for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. And as always, thank you to the listeners for spending time with us today on The Running Wine Mom. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with a mom who needs to hear it. You can follow me on Instagram at the running wine mom underscore. And Krista, where can the listeners find you?
Yeah, you can find me at christabigler.com or the Less Stress Life
Awesome.
podcast.
I will link all of that. So thank you so much for joining us today. Remember, you are strong, you are capable, and you are all amazing. Until next time, keep running, keep sipping, and keep embracing the joy of motherhood. Cheers, and I will be back next Tuesday. All right.